For centuries, we've been told a story about a woman, a serpent, and an apple. But what if the story you've heard isn't the whole truth? What if Eve's choice was never about the fruit, but about something far deeper? In the beginning, before time was measured by sun and moon, there was a garden. Not just any garden, but a living sanctuary, a masterpiece painted by the hands of God. This was Eden, a place of perfect harmony where creation sang in unison. Sunlight, pure and warm, danced through the leaves of ancient trees, casting shifting patterns on the soft earth. Rivers, clear as crystal, flowed with a gentle murmur, their waters carriers of life and peace. Every flower bloomed in vibrant perfection, and every creature moved with a grace given by its creator. Here, in this symphony of life, walked the first man, Adam, and with him, the first woman, Eve. They were not merely inhabitants of this paradise. They were its heart. Formed in the very image of God, they walked with him in the cool of the day, their fellowship unbroken, their hearts filled with an innocent and profound love. This was more than a place. It was a relationship, a perfect bond between the Creator and his beloved children. Eden was a reflection of God's own heart, abundant, generous, and overflowing with perfect, unconditional love. They knew no fear, no sorrow, no shame. They knew only the goodness of their Father and the beauty of the world he had made for them. Into this perfect world, God introduced a sacred gift, a principle as essential as life itself, the freedom to choose. This was not a test of limitation, but an invitation to love. For love, to be true, cannot be commanded. It must be freely given. In the heart of the garden, God placed two trees, the tree of life, a symbol of eternal fellowship with him, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This second tree was not a trap, but a signpost, a tangible reminder of their dependence on God's wisdom. God's instruction was simple and clear. You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die. This wasn't a threat, but a loving warning, a father protecting his children from a harm they could not yet comprehend. It was a call to trust. Trust that his knowledge was sufficient, his provision was complete, and his boundaries were for their ultimate good. Adam and Eve looked upon the tree not with longing, but with peaceful understanding. It stood as a testament to their relationship with God, a daily opportunity to choose him, to trust his word above their own understanding, and to affirm that their joy was found not in knowing everything, but in knowing him. But paradise was not without its shadows. A subtle whisper, a twisting of truth, found its way into the garden's harmony. The serpent, more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made, approached Eve. His words were not an outright command, but a seed of doubt, carefully planted. "Did God really say," he hissed, "you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" The question was a distortion, designed to make God's generous provision seem restrictive. He preyed not on Eve's hunger for food, but on a deeper desire, the desire to be like God, to possess a wisdom that belonged to him alone. The serpent painted God's loving boundary as an act of jealousy, suggesting that God was withholding something good. "You will not certainly die," he lied. "For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve stood at a crossroads. Before her was the simple, loving word of her Creator, and beside her, the enticing whisper of self-reliance. This was a battle for her heart, a test of trust. The fruit was beautiful, yes, but the real temptation was the promise of power, of independence from God. It was the age-old lie that we can be the masters of our own destiny. In that fateful moment, trust wavered. Eve looked at the fruit, saw that it was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom. She took some and ate it. Then she gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it. In an instant, the world shifted. The music of Eden faltered. A cold wind blew through the garden as their eyes were opened, and for the first time they knew shame. They saw their own vulnerability, and they hid from the one presence that had always been their comfort. But even in this moment of profound failure, as the echoes of disobedience silenced the garden, the story does not end in condemnation. It turns to mercy. When God walked in the garden, his voice was not filled with rage, but with a father's heartbroken question. Where are you? He sought them out. He found them in their hiding place. And though there were consequences, pain, struggle, and separation from the garden, his love remained. Before casting them out, God himself performed an act of tender care. He made them garments of skin and clothed them, covering their shame with his own provision. And even as he sent them from Eden, he did not send them without hope. In the midst of the curse, he planted a promise, a seed of redemption, a future descendant who would crush the serpent's head. The gates of the garden closed, but the heart of God remained open. For generations, the echo of that promise resonated through human history. Humanity wrestled with the knowledge of good and evil, with the sorrow and toil that came from their separation from God. The memory of Eden lingered, a deep-seated longing for a lost home. Then, in the fullness of time, God's promise began to unfold in the most unexpected way. Another woman, a young girl from Nazareth named Mary, stood before a divine messenger. Where Eve's choice led to disobedience, Mary's choice was one of humble surrender. I am the Lord's servant, she answered. May your word to me be fulfilled. Her faithful yes made way for the ultimate answer to Eden's tragedy. She would bear a son, Jesus Christ, who was God himself in human flesh. He was the second Adam, who came to undo what the first had done. He walked the dusty roads of this broken world, living a life of perfect obedience, perfect trust, and perfect love. He faced temptation and did not falter. And on a cross, on a hill called Calvary, he took upon himself the full weight of humanity's sin and shame. Through his sacrifice, the curse was broken. The veil was torn. The gates of paradise, closed so long ago, were thrown open once more. Through Jesus, the path back to the Father was made clear, a gift of grace offered to all who would receive it. So what is Eve's story for us today? It is far more than a cautionary tale about a piece of fruit. It is our story. In her struggle, we see our own. We see our own tendency to doubt God's goodness, to seek wisdom and control apart from him, to believe the lie that we know better. We have all listened to the serpent's whisper in our own lives. We have all experienced moments of hiding in shame, feeling distant from our Creator. But just as Eve's story is our story of falling, it is also the beginning of our story of redemption. Her story reminds us that God's love is not fragile. It is not defeated by our failures. In fact, it is in our moments of greatest need that his grace shines the brightest. Every time we stumble, every time we choose our own way, we are presented with the same opportunity to turn back to the Father who is always waiting, always searching, always ready to clothe us in his mercy and welcome us home. Christ's victory is our victory. His righteousness is our covering. Eve's fall set the stage for God to display the unfathomable depth of his love. So when you hear the story of Eve, look beyond the apple. See the profound gift of freedom she was given. See the heartbreaking struggle of trust that we all face. But most of all, see the relentless, pursuing love of a God who never stopped reaching for us. A God who had a plan of redemption from the very beginning. Her story isn't the end. It is the start of a grand and beautiful narrative that culminates in the open arms of Jesus Christ. It is the beginning of our journey, the long and grace-filled journey back home to God. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please consider subscribing for more stories of faith and hope.